who's the co-founder and CEO of Mavrck, and he's going to talk specifically about that challenge of scaling influencer marketing. Please welcome back to our stage, Lyle.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Lyle. I'm co-founder and CEO of a company called Mavrck, and I'm here to talk about how you can scale influencer marketing for the enterprise, and that includes for brands and also agencies. So for those of you who don't know Mavrck, there we go. We're an online influencer marketing platform. We help you automate, measure, and scale influencer programs, referral programs, customer advocacy programs, or even ratings and reviews programs. And we have a pretty simple guiding manifesto. We believe that as a brand, you need to rise above the noise out there through content people trust, and the only content people trust comes from other people, all right, and not from your brand. So over the last 4 years, we have been monitoring influencer content out on social media. Last year, about 21 million posts were created on behalf of brands, which has grown exponentially. And as a result, the amount of people searching for influencer marketing on Google has grown exponentially as well. You're actually searching, more folks are searching for influencer marketing as a topic than they are social media marketing today. And the reason for that is because of our shift in trust as a society. There was a study done last year by Edelman around their trust barometer, and peers, or people who look like you, are now the most credible folks when it comes to picking a new brand or product. As credible as a technical expert or an academic expert. And that fundamental shift in trust has opened up the door for what is now influence marketing. But many brands who are doing influencer marketing, and raise your hand if you are today, I'm sure most of you are, okay? Most brands are still thinking about influencer as a celebrity or a spokesperson or even maybe a micro-influencer, but they're not thinking about influence. Like, take the influencer out of it and just think about influence and the trust you're trying to create as a brand. And that comes down to creating content, many different types of content, whether it's blog content, YouTube content, Instagram content, but also includes surveys, referral content and referral links, and even ratings and reviews. All 6 of these categories of content should be generated to generate influence, or should be used to generate influence within your consumer journey. Someone who does this extremely well as a competitive differentiator is Amazon. Amazon has a 6-part integrated strategy for influencer marketing that allows them to drive an incredible amount of revenue for their company. And what we've been able to do at Mavrck is help other companies, other brands who are not Amazon, drive similar results. So you can take influencer content and put it as your product images, and those convert 40 times or 40% higher. Use ratings and reviews generated by folks that have received your product to drive higher conversion rates, and actually drive traffic to your website or to your partners' websites that convert higher as well. I want to talk about how you actually scale this, because many of you have probably started using email and spreadsheets, reaching out to individual bloggers or folks on Instagram, or even using your happy team, as I heard earlier, to respond to folks with influence. But to actually scale it, you need to start thinking about how to leverage data and technology to empower your influential consumers to talk about you in a more authentic and trustworthy way. So I'm going to step through that. Step 1, you need to nail your brand attributes. Most of you in the room have this, but you need to understand what is your core belief, your core message, who are you reaching, what is your look and feel, because these are the key tenets that are going to help you find influencers that align. This is a critical input to your influence marketing strategy. Then once you have that, you need to start thinking through how you're going to actually deploy an influence strategy, how you're going to measure it, what are the benchmarks you're going to use, what are the brand constraints? Am I online only? Am I a luxury product? And all of these inputs then will form a strategy that talks about what's my objective, what's the ROI measure, what are the personas of influencers I should use, which I'll get to in a sec, how am I going to recruit these folks, what content will I produce, and how am I going to incentivize these people? Only then is it time to start automation. You need to have a strong strategy before you start using a tool. Many folks jump right into a tool, start throwing money at a tool. That will not work, I promise. Once you have a strategy and you're thinking about a tool, the next step is to actually automate, or excuse me, to use the full spectrum of influence. So there's many different personas of influencers. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. Most folks start at the top and work their way down with celebrities, then go to professional influencers who make a living off of their content, and then micro-influencers who influence as a side hustle. then work into their employees, then look at referrers, and then loyalists. The key here is you should be using as many of these personas as possible in your strategy. 3 to 4 is typically what we recommend. And as you move up, they become more expensive, pretty obvious. As you move down, there's many more of them. So it really depends on the objective and the use case, but you should be leveraging multiple personas. You should own the relationship with those people. So many folks still outsource influencer marketing to an agency, and that's okay to start. And agencies in the room, good for you for having that piece of business, but I recommend you help your brand partner own that one-to-one relationship at scale and build a community or a tribe, as I heard mentioned earlier, of folks with influence. What we have found at Mavrck is that for every 1 million people coming to your website, roughly 8% of them will have relevant influence for you as a brand. You're probably not even tapping into that base and its full potential, so think about that. An example of this is a customer of ours called Rosefield. Rosefield put this ambassador landing page on their website. In 90 days, they received 45,000 people raising their hand saying, I want to opt into your ambassador program. I'll get to the results of that in a second. Once you have folks coming to you, raising their hand, once you're reaching out to folks that fit your brand, you want to use data and technology to understand if these people fit your persona as a brand. You're not going to be able to go through 45,000 people who want to work with you manually, by hand, even if you hire an army of interns. Using things like Google Vision, you can analyze the content to see if it's brand safe. Are they overly political, overly religious? Are they showing too much skin in their photo? Where are their audiences? Are they in countries that matter to you? Do they use slang or profanity? Things like that you can automate. You can use lots of technologies out there to help you do that. You can also use the same data to predict performance and actually build forecasts. Many folks are like, how do I measure influencer marketing? Well, let's start with what the historical data shows you, and then let's talk about the actual business impact. Once you've selected influencers and you're working with different personas, you got to think about the use cases for those personas. The top of the spectrum is really meant for creating content. The middle of the spectrum is really meant for referring content to friends, and the bottom of the spectrum is really great for reviews and research. If you had to start anywhere, I would always recommend a micro-influencer. They can do all 3 of these use cases with the most cost effectiveness, anywhere from $50 to $100 worth of value. That could be product, could be gift cards, could be experiences. Then you need to think about your workflow. So automating the workflow is probably where you receive the most bang for your buck from a scale standpoint. Do I send product ahead of time? Do I send product after they post? Do I pay them before they post? When do I pay them? What's the measurement by which I pay them? What's the rate? All those sort of questions you can automate. Talking to an influencer in their native language is also really important when you want to build that authenticity in that relationship. And then you want to use mass personalization to send them communication that feels tailored to them. It may be a mail merge, it may be going out to 1,000, 10,000 people, but they feel like you took the time to understand who they were, what they're posting about, include very specific examples of photos you want them to create, give them a tracking link or a conversion pixel to actually measure their impact. All of it feels very, very personalized. Then let's talk about incentives. At the top of the spectrum of influence, you should incentivize based on activity. These are content creators. They have a lot of time and effort going into the content they're producing for you as a brand. You need to pay them or at least give them some sort of value exchange for that content. The bottom of the spectrum should be based on performance. You should not be incentivizing folks to just share links or create content in the form of like sharing a promo code or just giving you a rating and a review. It needs to perform, or else you're going to get spam content. Managing all those incentives can get really, really time consuming. So thinking about technology to help you do that is helpful. And then also using conversion tracking. So many folks forget about giving a conversion tag to their influencers to put in their blog content or to share in their swipe up links or to put in their bio to actually measure the offline and online impact. So I mentioned Rosefield. Rosefield had 45,000 people sign up in the first 90 days of putting up the ambassador program and had 2,800 of them create content on behalf of that brand that drove significant number of engagements and impressions. I can't put the sales number up here with their brand. What I can show you is that a beauty brand, similar strategy, similar mechanic, got 10,000 people to sign up, drove an ROI of 500% in the first 90 days, all in, software, the incentives for the people, everything. More relevant for this audience, a global CPG brand who wanted to drive offline sales, generated 1,800 posts in about 90 days, significant engagement and impressions, but they used Nielsen to measure 3 target markets, and they saw an offline sales lift of 10% in those locations, mainly Kroger locations. And the goal was a 3% sales lift, so 3 times the goal they were trying to drive. We've worked with a number of brands. CPG is our sweet spot, but we work with other brands as well. Sorry. And then where I think this is all going is social content as currency. So we are going to walk into stores, we're going to shop online, and before we make a purchase, or even after we make a purchase, you're going to be analyzed dynamically to understand if you're influential, and if you are, or where you fall on that spectrum is going to determine if you receive some sort of variable incentive, whether it's a VIP experience, a discount, a free product, and you're going to have a timetable to create content in exchange for that variable incentive. So imagine shopping or transacting with brands based on your social content. That's where this is all going. I'm here today with Meredith. She's in the back. Raise your hand. There she is. If you have any questions about how to rise above the noise through content people trust, I'd love to talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyle. Lyle, you can grab Lyle at the coffee break. We're going to break for coffee now. We want to thank them for sponsoring this coffee break that we'll have for the next 15 minutes. So grab some coffee back in the back room, and we'll be back to take on the 800-pound gorilla in the room.